Hello and welcome to Falcon Focus. It's our 27th episode and the 15th here in semester number 2. On this week's edition and segment number 2, we talk women's lacrosse with their goalkeeper Kinsey Wire as they get ready for the NAC tournament, which gets underway with a semifinal matchup on Wednesday against Concordia, Chicago. But up first, we talk women's tennis with junior Ellie Johnson. They have a big matchup atop the conference standings on Saturday as they get ready to take on the Edgewood College Eagles. My name is Matt Mendel. Thanks for joining us. And Ellie, thank you for your time. And let's talk women's tennis. And first of all, your background in the sport of tennis. How did you get started? What's your earliest memory of playing the sport?
Yeah, so I actually got started on accident. So I came into high school kind of looking for something to get into because I went to a different high school than I was supposed to filter into. So I went to Slinger High School, and the season for tennis starts before the actual school year. So my mom thought it would be a good thing to get me some friends, actually, since I didn't know anyone. And I joined, and I ended up being pretty good at it. More natural than most sports for me. So then from there, it just kind of took off, and I've been doing it ever since. So like 5 years now, 6 years.
Well, you bring up it was
Yeah.
an accident. What made tennis, though, the activity that you pointed at and said, this is what I'm going to do to try to make more friends as I get ready for high school?
Um, Honestly, it kind of gave off the tone in high school that it was an easy sport. Uh, just kind of a mess around type thing. That's just what it kind of showed off as back in high school, especially for freshmen. They didn't really know how difficult it was. But it's really a tough sport to be good at.
We'll talk
Mhm.
about, obviously, the sport now has paid off in a big way. Here we are at Concordia playing at a high level, and we'll talk about that as we go along. But what is your favorite thing about the sport?
Um, Probably the fact that there's aspects of being on my own within the sport. So it's my shots, or like in singles, it's just all me. But also the fact that you are on a team and there is a team setting and they're there to support you as well.
So going back to your prep days or even now at the collegiate level, to date, what is your favorite or top moment from playing the sport?
Hmm. Well, probably I would say so far it's actually this season. Probably my North Central match, which is the first match of this season.
Mm-hmm.
It was non-conference, but for me, like I didn't win, I lost, but they're a really good team, and I think for me it was the fact that it was like a turning point in my game. Just I felt that I'm finally able to compete at a different level than I ever have before, and see things in a different way, and see the court in a different way, and think about things mentally more than I've been able to in the past. So,
Well, it's funny you bring up that North Central matchup because we'll get to that too as we go along because that was the first matchup back from the COVID-19 layoff for tennis. That was back on the 13th of February. But you mentioned it. You were a Slinger Owl. You went the Slinger High School route and you played tennis according to your bio, soccer, basketball. So when did you realize that maybe you could take tennis, to the next level? You could potentially play that sport at the collegiate level.
right. I would say junior year was when I kind of started looking at colleges. I kind of got the thought put in my head that, oh, like, I'm good at this. This is the best thing that I have. It's my favorite thing to do. I love it. So why not try and work as hard as I can so I can play this sport in college?
So was soccer and basketball out of the question? It was always tennis?
Yeah, I was done with those by sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my last year for both of those, so I kind of knew.
When you talked about going through the college process, I know we always talk with our athletes and why Concordia. So stayed relatively close to home, but why Concordia? What made this the school of choice?
Um, well, a little bit because it was close, a little bit for tennis. We are top in our conference,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly because the business school is, also top rated in Wisconsin, and that's what I knew. I wanted to do something in business, so that fit perfectly. It kind of started way back when for basketball. I did a couple basketball camps here, and I was like, oh, like I kind of always had the thought in my head, what if I go to college here? Like it's a nice place and all that. So I kind of give some credit to that too.
Is it a big adjustment? You know, you look at, any college athlete for that matter. Sometimes you go from being a star player at the high school level to, fitting in at the collegiate level and kind of waiting your time and working your way up to that star status, if you will. How about in tennis? You go from being a number one singles player at Slinger High School to number five singles, at least your freshman year in college, working your way up that lineup. Is that a big adjustment to go from number one at the high school to number five at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I would say in different ways it is, but it's nice to be able to ease into it more. Like instead of being higher up that first freshman year,
Sure.
I'm glad that I was, five singles. I was thankful to be able to be in the lineup and use my skills in the college level right off the bat. So it was a challenge, I would say, to learn how to play differently because it's a huge adjustment from high school to college, just the level of tennis. But I think I adjusted well, and it's nice to be able to work my way up and, move down a little bit as the years go, just kind of see where I fit in as we go on.
Well, you bring up it's a big adjustment. Well, what, in your opinion, is the biggest adjustment or biggest difference going from one level to the next?
Probably the intensity of the players. Like, it's taken a lot more seriously in college. It's a whole new level of work ethic and drive. Like, even when you're just playing the match, like a drive of wanting to win and something like that. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned, okay, your freshman year went well. I guess in your opinion overall, I guess what stood out from that freshman year and I guess after that season was all said and done, when you go back to the drawing board and go, okay, this is what I got to do to get better, what kind of came to mind?
Yeah. I think freshman year went well. It just like it was eye opening to see the ways that I have to adjust differently, and so
Hmm.
even like more complex things is what I really never thought of working on before is what I need to work on now. Like I would say the biggest thing that transformed my game from freshman year to now is working on the mental game, which is probably the hardest part of tennis. Just being able to be at peace with yourself and your mind, and being able to think, two or three shots ahead of what your plan is, what you plan on doing, what you're going to do if they hit this shot versus another shot. And I guess I had kind of difficult time sorting all that out, but now that I got that figured out, it's going a lot better.
Well, in your sophomore year, which was cut short by COVID-19, you played number two and number three singles back and forth. Did you like the adjustment, though, you made from your freshman to sophomore year? Just you talk about the mental aspect of it, just taking it that next step, that next season.
Yeah. Honestly, sophomore year was probably the hardest in
Okay.
terms of mental game, probably because um, I was at that even higher spot, and it was even more prominent up there that it was so important to have a strong mental game. And I don't think I was there yet. So, but now, if I were to move up, I think I would be ready. I feel strong there. So,
So you talk about the mental game. Would you say you put a lot of pressure on yourself?
yes, definitely. I, yeah, I kind of have a confusing brain. I feel like my coach says that all the time. Like you don't even know what you're thinking about right now, which is probably true. Like, it is true. I mean, I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself, not even just to win, but just like every shot, like letting it get to me. And I feel like I've been able to let go of that and move on and just try to think of a better way to do it for the next point, something like that.
Well, you bring up a good point that I want to bring up. Okay, so we're in this unique era, if you will, COVID era, and obviously after the break, and not knowing when a match may take place, when it may not take place, the testing, everything that goes along with the COVID-19 protocol. Does that factor in your thinking at all? Obviously, you're dealing with the mental side of the match itself, but now you have all these other factors outside that you can't control. Does that mess with you at all? Going, you know what? I have to be prepared, but this could happen, that could happen. We don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think in the beginning it was a little bothersome because we had just been practicing this past fall, like just purely practice, and it was super helpful and it was great to be able to play, but I think at first personally, I was like, well, has this been enough to be ready for these matches? Like, I don't know. What is it going to throw next to us?
Mm-hmm.
But now I think we've all gotten used to it. I think we're all going on as usual.
Does it feel like a normal season to you? I mean, once you're out there and playing, does it feel like, forget about all the outside factors, the noise? Does it feel normal, or does it still kind of feel a little bit different?
I think it feels normal. I think it feels better. I think it's
Mm.
great that we've been able to be at all of these matches with the guys team. It's so fun. It's a different kind of atmosphere for us. They pump us up. I like to think that we pump them up, and we've all grown a lot closer, and I love it. I think we all love it.
When you touched on it, okay, getting the opportunity to return to the court on February 13th at North Central for this spring 2021 season, did you do a lot of tennis activity during that quote-unquote COVID break? How did you go about staying in that I guess, tennis mindset?
Yeah, I have a membership at a tennis club
Okay.
near my house. That's where I've been training since I started tennis. So yeah, I did summer drills. I did leagues. I played with my teammates when I could. So yeah, I did as much as I could to be ready, and I really honed in on my fitness as well.
And so far, not just for you, but for this team, it's all paying off. The team playing awfully well this spring with 10 victories, 4 defeats, but a perfect 7-0 in that competition. As mentioned, a big battle coming up on Saturday against Edgewood. But how about as a team? How do you feel, the team overall is performing at this point, which includes that big win against Illinois Tech back on April 11th, winning 5-4?
Right. Yeah. I think our team is performing really well based on the circumstances. We've even had a few people recently out for close contacts. So, we've had people missing, we've had adjustments, but even with those people gone and people filling in, I think we're playing well, and I think we're all pretty confident right now.
I want to talk about your doubles game at Will in a second, but from a singles standpoint, you've played number 6, number 5, last couple of matchups up to number 4. What has been the key to your success this season? Because you've had a lot of success here in this spring. What do you consider the strengths of your game?
Yeah, I would consider right now the strengths my ability to switch things up, which has really kind of come into play more recently when we just started practice in the winter. Getting ready for this season. The way our coach did practice was kind of different. Like, we focused on a theme for each week, and that was allowed me to kind of think about things more deeply. So I think because of that, right now I have the ability to switch things up based on the player. Like a more slicey drop shot type of game, or use my strength, my forehand, which I really like to use a lot, and yeah.
So what's the theme for this week?
Well, leading up to Edgewood and conference and stuff like that, we kind of have a general, like, couple things to work on, but we're kind of let off on our own, actually. Just to do whatever we feel like we need to do, because at this point, if there's something we're not feeling good about at all, like, that's what we need to work on. It's just up to us, because we need to go into Saturday feeling super confident with everything that we have to do.
And you play number 2 doubles. You did before COVID shut down your sophomore season. Again here this season. You had a different partner last year. You've had a couple of different partners this year. Does that take adjusting, getting used to who you're playing alongside?
Yeah, it's been a ride for doubles. Things just started off kind of rocky. We had to, with my partner Mia Andre, we had to switch things up and play a different style of doubles. So we're going 2 back when on the returning side, and I think we have more work to do on that. And I think for us, though, that worked better than normal style. But with my other partner, sometimes I think we work really well with normal. It's going between them two hasn't been too bad. I think we've both adjusted really well, but I guess it's just a process to see what works better.
Do you prefer one or the other, meaning doubles or singles, or does it not matter to you?
I love singles. That's all I did in high school. I'm better at it. So, yeah, definitely singles.
Well, we mentioned Edgewood coming up on Saturday, and outside of that, you have the NAC tournament around the corner as well. Seeds 3 through 6 will play in the first round on May 4th before the semifinals. We're hoping the Falcons will be a top 2 seed. It looks like they will be. The semifinal, their first match would be then May 7th. Championship would be May 9th. Falcons are hosting from Kohler the semifinal and championship rounds. But let's talk about Edgewood real fast. It's always a big matchup when the Falcons and Eagles meet. Edgewood has won the last 2 regular season championships. They won the last tournament championship that was crowned. So I guess when you think Falcons, Eagles, how intense does that matchup get?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's on all of our minds. It's been on all of our minds all season. That's why we train so hard, is for this one match. I think that, I know we have a chance, but it all depends on how we come out right off the bat. So that's a thing that's been stressed to us is, coming off strong right away, because sometimes we have a slow start and we can't have that. So I think I'm confident with our team, and I'm confident with myself. It's just a matter of how we come out on Saturday.
To wrap it all up, I want to get to know you a little bit more from an education standpoint. I always kind of cringe a little bit because I know sometimes the athlete bios don't always get updated from a education standpoint, what their major may be. But according to your bio, it says marketing and photography. Has that changed, or is that still the route you're going?
Not completely, no. I have a double in marketing and hospitality. So I'm wanting to be a wedding planner. I actually have a job, just recently got a job at a company in Milwaukee, so I'll be working as a wedding planner there, also doing some marketing there, and then in the future opening my own venue, hopefully.
What piqued your interest in that area?
I guess just my love of working with people, and also combining that with a business standpoint. And I've had numerous jobs in the hospitality industry, and I was like, oh, I love weddings. Like, why not make that my career? That just makes so much sense because that's what I love. So
Absolutely. Well, good stuff, Ellie. Thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck this Saturday and going forward with the NAC tournament in a couple of weeks. And when we come back, we'll switch our attention to women's lacrosse and talk with Kinsey Wire. You're tuning to Falcon Focus on CWFalcons.com.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We now turn our attention to women's lacrosse and being joined by the junior goalkeeper, Kinsey Wire, although I say goalkeeper this year, done a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We'll talk about that as we go along. But up first, I got to get your thoughts, how excited you are, what's the mindset is. You know, you guys are less than, or I guess a little more than 24 hours as we tape this away from a NAC tournament semifinal. The Falcons will be the number 3 seed at number 2, Concordia, Chicago.
Yeah, I'm honestly super excited. I think it's awesome that we're ranked 3rd this year. I think with this year being just kind of crazy as it is, I think it's awesome that we're ranked 3rd. I think we're really excited to play CUC. We've played them previously, but I think we're really excited to come back. I think our first time playing them, it was a little bit rough just kind of going in there. Didn't really know what to expect, but I feel like now we kind of got a good grasp on like what to expect, and I think we're going to come out playing pretty strong. I'm excited.
So that one coming up on Wednesday, again, NAC tournament semifinal from River Forest, Illinois. Overall, right now, the team sits with 4 victories, 5 defeats, 2-2 in NAC play. Aurora and Concordia, Chicago were the teams essentially to beat this season. But I guess, how would you go about describing or maybe summarizing the way the regular season played out?
I think we're really fortunate. I think our team really came together this year. I think this year is obviously different than like previous years, but I think it's honestly brought us a lot closer, which has been great. I think our team chemistry is awesome this year, and we've got to play pretty much most of the games that we expected. So that was really awesome. I think we did pretty steady this year. Mostly what we expected. I think we played some pretty good conference matchups. Other teams this year I know had some issues and weren't able to play some of the certain teams that we were expecting. But overall, I think we played pretty strong this year. I think our team chemistry was there. I think we had a lot of really awesome players individually. And I think we're a little bit low on numbers this year, which was not what we were used to, but I think we definitely made the best of what we could.
What do you talk about that numbers issue? That's across the board in the conference, and
Yeah.
hopefully things get back to normal, say, next spring. But let's talk about that aspect of things. Obviously, you can only control what you can't control, and this team can't control. But, COVID-19 is, obviously an issue. The protocol, all that goes along with the pandemic. Has this season for you felt any different, outside of the numbers issue? Has it felt different? Has there been some normality to it? I mean, how would you go about assessing that aspect of things?
I would say it's definitely not necessarily like normal, but it's kind of feels like the not new normal, but in a way. I think this year, like, we've been able to do a lot more than I was expecting. I expected it to be a lot more like limited, so I'm really grateful that we've been able to play as many games as we could. I feel like overall, like at the beginning of the season, I was a little bit worried that it would feel a lot like last season we were getting cut short, but honestly, it hasn't in a way. With the lower numbers, I think like this year, since I've been shifting to play like both positions, I think it's honestly been really cool to be able to play both. I think it's really helped me in like both my positions, especially goal, since that's like my normal position. But I think it's been awesome being able to like play field. It's really like made me connect a lot more with the team, and I've been able to kind of see both sides of things, which I didn't normally get to before, which was really cool.
Well, let's talk about playing the field. Okay, so you were and are a goalkeeper, still are, and you have played. The last couple of games, you were the starter in the regular season finale against Aurora, came in because of an injury against Marion. But, okay, playing the field, when did it kind of kick in, or when did it become reality that was going to be something you were going to have to do, and how did you prepare for it?
Well, so I was talking to my coach at the beginning of the season, and I was kind of realizing that we had some people that were injured coming in, and we had a little bit lower numbers just due to COVID not being able to like recruit as much. So I kind of had talked to my coach about the possibility, and I was kind of like, I was a little bit nervous, but I knew that like I have played field before, and I was like, you know what, like why not try something new? And if this can help benefit the team, like I think that's a great option. Just because since we have lower numbers, having two goalies is great, but also having someone that can play field too would also really benefit us, especially defensively. So I was like, well, since I'm normally used to being in goal, I'm used to that defensive aspect of it. So I think that was really cool being able to actually like play field and be out there with Mal too, since we had two goalies out there. That was pretty fun.
So you said you have played the field before. How
Yeah.
long ago was that?
It's been a few years. I played like goal in club and pretty much all in high school, but I would like occasionally get thrown in on field, but I wasn't like super consistent with it. But I do practice, I guess, with my field stick like a decent amount, so I had like most of my stick skills from that. So that was nice.
The cool thing is, if you look at the stat sheet, you're credited with a free position shot attempt here this season, which again is not something you typically see next to a goalkeeper stat line. But,
Yeah.
but you're used to stopping those versus taking. What was that kind of different when you were put in that spot earlier this season?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I remember like entering into like kind of our 8-meter area, and I was like, oh wow, this is not normally. I'm like looking at it from my perspective. So that was kind of fun. Was really hoping I'd have one stat of one goal, but that's okay. Maybe tomorrow.
It
Oh
could
yeah,
still
tomorrow.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Maybe tomorrow. So we'll see. But yeah, it was fun. It was definitely like different, but I think it was a cool experience. I'm kind of glad that I could say that I could take an 8 meters. That was kind of fun.
Well, what was very unique is back on April 20th against Marion, you started the game playing the field, but then Mallory Gurin goes down. You take over the goalkeeping responsibilities. Was that difficult at all, being that, okay, you're going from one mindset to all of a sudden, you're essentially going into goal cold?
Yeah. I think playing like in goal and playing in field is like a very different mindset. I think like in goal, I tend to like overthink a lot more, and it's much more of a mental game than like I think playing field's much more like physical. On the field, I feel like I don't have as much time to think, so it's very like quick response. Whereas in goal, I think I like plan out like what's going to happen and I analyze more. So it was definitely like a little bit more difficult. I was like, oh wow, I need to wrap my head around like getting back into the goalie mindset. But honestly, like once I got back in there, I was like, all right, like this is fine. Like I'm used to playing this. Like I know what I'm doing. And I just was like, trust my teammates, and everybody was super supportive. So that was good.
So if you've been practicing, like in practice, both positions, do
Yeah.
you focus only on defense? What's the mindset?
At the beginning of the season, I kind of told my coaches, I was like, hey, like if I'm going to transition from field, like I want to focus on field just so I can make sure I'm like getting the gist of everything and working with our defense and stuff. We have some really strong defenders this year, which was awesome. And they were super great with kind of helping me out and making sure I transitioned from like what I knew in goal to like on field, which was awesome. So recently since last week when we played Marion, like I've been transitioning, so now pretty much all goal and stuff. At the beginning of the season, I did mostly goalie, but then once I switched to field, now I just practice field, but now it's kind of a little bit of both, which is kind of fun.
Well, then mention you started, against Aurora this past week in the regular season finale. Is that a different preparation process for you, knowing you're going to be a starter versus, obviously, in that game against Marion, you had to just be ready at a moment's notice?
Yeah, I think, like, honestly, I play better when I don't, like, expect things. Like, I was, like, when I played in against Marion, I was kind of thrown in, and I didn't really have time to think about it, which, honestly, I think was kind of nice because I didn't get the chance to, like, kind of overthink or reset myself in that goalie mindset. But against Aurora, I knew they were going to be a very strong team. They've always been a strong team. So that was, like, a little bit more nerve-wracking just because I was, like, I knew for sure that I would be starting in goal rather than starting on D. So that I had to shift a little bit. But once I kind of shifted into, like, my normal perspective, I was like, all right, I've been playing in goal like the past 2 years. Like I know how to do it. I just need to kind of come together, and it worked out all right.
So if you get a say, is this something you could see yourself doing again come next season, or do you want to focus on goalkeeper or just defense?
I think honestly, I like that now I kind of am able to do whatever like the team needs, I think. So like if, we need me more in goal or if we need me more as a field player, I like that I kind of have like both options. So I think really just doing whatever fits best for the team is kind of nice, is what I'll probably go off of.
So getting to know you a little bit better, when did you start playing lacrosse? Why did you start playing lacrosse?
So I started playing lacrosse, I believe, at the end of my 5th grade. For me, I was like a competitive gymnast for years, which is super random and does not correlate at all. But I always wanted to play hockey when I was younger, but my mom like thought that I was like, since I did dance and gymnastics, she's like, oh, you're not like tough enough for that. And then I ended up playing lacrosse, which is like pretty similar, like which is kind of funny. And I at first kind of hated lacrosse actually because I just didn't understand how to catch and throw, quite honestly. And I got thrown in goal, I think because we just didn't have a goalie. And then that's kind of like what stuck. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And then I started kind of playing more club teams. And then I kind of just stuck with that. And then I ended up like really liking it.
We'll go back to the goalkeeper spot in a second. What would be your number 2 sport? If somebody told you one day, hey, you can't play lacrosse, what would your backup sport be?
Oh, that's kind of a tricky one.
Would you be a gymnast again?
Honestly, if I could be, yeah. Like, gymnastics was very hard on my body, so I feel like I was ready for something new. But if I would have stuck with it, like, definitely gymnastics. Like, that would have been probably my backup. Or maybe golf. I took a lot of golf lessons when I was younger, and that was kind of fun. So if I would have stuck with that, that would have been kind of nice. But gymnastics, if my body wasn't, like, destroyed from it, then I probably would have, yeah.
Well, you talk about, okay, you went from being a gymnast to playing lacrosse. Did you juggle the two for a while, or was it just you went from one to the other?
When I first started lacrosse, I believe I was kind of like ending my competitive like career in gymnastics. So I was kind of like deciding. I like knew that gymnastics is one of those sports that I feel like once you hit that fear factor, like it's just really hard to continue. And I kind of knew like I was ready to be done. And then I was just kind of looking for something else. And once I found lacrosse and I was like, all right, like I'm getting into this, I think it was easier for me to be like, all right, like this isn't what I want to do anymore. Like let's transition to something else.
Well, you mentioned you got, kind of thrown into the goalkeeper spot, at least, as you were going through the younger years. What was your thought, I guess, when you got thrown in that position? Did you enjoy it right away, or did it take some getting used to?
It took some getting used to. Like at first I was like, why are people throwing things at me? And like this kind of hurts. But once I realized kind of like the stick skills of it and I kind of got like the momentum in it, I actually really liked it. And my coaches were super supportive. I had really good like goalie like people in front of me that I could like see and watch. So they were really good role models. So that kind of like encouraged me. The high school I went to, we always had very, very strong goalies. So that was always something I like strive for. And I feel like that pushed me, especially when I got to the high school level. It was always something like I looked up to. So I feel like that was a really big key component.
So what's your favorite part about playing goalie? What's the most challenging part about being a goalie?
I like playing goalie, I guess, because I feel like you have a lot of power in your position. I feel like it can be sometimes hard in the aspect that like once you get down, like sometimes it's hard to like keep a positive attitude, but I really do like that I can, especially with defense, that I can really help everyone else and kind of keep that positive attitude, because even when we're down, like I'll see some of my defenders down and I'm like, let's keep this positive attitude, like we can only go up from here. Obviously lacrosse is a high scoring sport, so like that's one aspect you have to take into consideration. Like obviously goals are going to be scored, but it's more like, if goals are scored, how can we come together as a defense? How can we fix what we just did and kind of like work from the breakdown?
We've had a theme on this show. We've talked to, I think, every goalkeeper, goaltender on this campus. If you are a goalkeeper, goaltender, come on the show, because we've interviewed everybody. It seems like for every sport, men's or women's, athletes here at Concordia. But the reason I bring it up is because one of the things I find interesting is some athletes, one of the adjustments they had to make upon playing the position is sometimes, they would take it personally. If I let up 3, 4, 5 goals, you take that loss personally because you feel like you let your team down. Obviously, there's more to it. It's not just you. It's a team concept. But was that anything you struggle with at all, or is it something you do struggle with in the sense that, maybe you take games personally and having to learn not to take things so personally?
Yeah, I think I've done a really good job of it this year, but I think in past years that's definitely been something that kind of weighed me down, and I felt like that was like the one thing that held me back from being like reaching my full potential, was just like not putting everything on myself. I think like what's really helped me was honestly transitioning to field, because I saw how much like I was like, wow, like I put a lot of myself on it as a defender. So then I was like seeing that from the goalie perspective. I was like, I realized I really can't put that much pressure on myself. So that really helped me. When I transitioned back from field to goal, I realized like how much that we all do as a team, instead of just like making it all on myself. Like, oh, I let that goal in, but more as like our team kind of had a breakdown instead.
From Stillwater, Minnesota, why Concordia?
I came here, I was looking to play lacrosse in college, and I was going in high school, I wanted to be pre-occupational therapy. Concordia is a great program. I actually ended up switching to speech pathology, which Concordia has a great program for that as well. So I really just kind of wanted the best of both worlds. I wanted to make sure that I could have a good grasp on my major and still be able to play sports, which is awesome. So I liked that it was kind of a good mix of both. I wanted a little bit ways away from home. I wish I was a little bit closer, but it's not terrible. But I like that I get to be able to play sports. I like that Concordia incorporates an emphasis on getting a degree and making sure you're playing sports.
That first lacrosse season for you came in 2019 with Concordia, and you started and played in all 17 games. You had 10 or more saves in 5 of those games. When you look back to your freshman year, what was the biggest transition, going from high school to college lacrosse?
I think some of the rules-wise, like in lacrosse in college, we have a shot clock. We do not have that in high school. I think they might have transitioned now, but that was kind of intimidating to me, because I was like, oh, if we're up by a certain amount or if we're down, we could hold the ball in high school, and you can't do that in college. So it's a lot more fast paced in college, which I kind of like, because I felt like it kept our momentum up and everything. And just transitioning, I guess, playing in high school I had a very competitive high school team. I loved that. And I came in and we had that still same like momentum, which was awesome. I came in with a lot of really strong role models my freshman year, which was really cool too. So that was exciting for me.
So what are your memories of that first season?
Honestly, I loved my first season here. All my teammates were awesome. A lot of the freshmen that I came in with, like Carly, Sarah, they were all like really strong players and were super fun. They made it really enjoyable. We had a really good team dynamic too. I think my favorite thing was probably our trip to Oregon. That was awesome. That was some really cool opportunity to play West Coast like lacrosse, which is a very different style, which is funny. I think lacrosse really just depends on like the area and stuff. So that was really cool to be able to experience that. I felt like that really gave our team some insight into like different style play. So that was cool.
And then spring of 2020, of course, you get 3 games in. You had a career high 16 saves against Aurora, and then guess what? COVID hits and the season is wiped away. Do you remember hearing the news, what your reaction was, and I guess how did you go about handling all that time, I guess, away from competition?
Yeah, I actually remember that like really distinctively because I remember we were supposed to be going to Florida the following week, and I texted one of my teammates, Carly, and I was like, "Hey, like 1 week till Florida, like super exciting." And then everything kind of was smooth, and then I remember it was like Wednesday when I was like, "Oh wow, like this is actually like pretty serious." Like I guess it kind of like hit me then. I remember a few of my teammates and I were actually at watching the men's MSOE game, and that's when we got the email from school that we were going to have an extended spring break. And I feel like that was kind of when it hit me. I was like, I think this is kind of it. So that was like a big, like key turning point, I feel like. But we were supposed to be playing, I remember we're supposed to travel to Minnesota first. And our coaches were like, like we're just going to go with the flow, see how it is. And I just kind of had this like gut feeling that we wouldn't be playing them, which was kind of hard because I was really looking forward to that weekend and then going to spring break. But obviously things happen. But yeah, that was kind of like the big turning point.
So for you as an athlete, did it feel like an eternity to get to this start of the spring 2021? Did it feel like this never would happen again? Or was there always that hope that, sooner or later we're going to get back to some normality?
Yeah, I think the fall helped because we did have a kind of normal fall ball. We were able to play as a team, so I think that was really nice. It definitely felt like a very long time when we started in fall. I felt like I was like it had been like over a year since I'd played before. Even though we were able to, toss around our sticks this summer and we were working out pretty consistently, still wasn't just like the same. So fall definitely helped in that aspect, but it definitely did feel like a very long time since we had actually had competitive play.
And of course, this spring brings about a new conference for women's lacrosse, as now men's and women's lacrosse are all under the NAC umbrella like most other sports here on campus. Do you like that? Is there a big, obviously a lot of the same schools, but I do know for you, being from Minnesota, one of the big changes is obviously not being in the Midwest Women's Lacrosse Conference. That's less, if any, trips now to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think my parents were pretty bummed about it because they loved being able to come watch me, especially play teams like Hamlin,
Sure.
Augsburg, since that was close to my house. But I think it's actually fun. It was nice that we got to transition. I think it brings something new, especially since last year we only got to play 3 games. I think having a new conference was kind of something to look forward to. Like, hey, we get to play new teams. We are playing some of the same teams. Like,
Sure.
I guess just mostly the loss of the Minnesota teams. But overall, I think it's helped. It's given us some new play and some new people to experience with.
Let's wrap it all up. You brought this up already, and we'll just, again, hit on it one more time. So NAC tournament gets underway tomorrow, a semifinal. Falcon will be at Concordia, Chicago. Winner moves on to the championship to face either Aurora or Benedictine, who will play again after they just played the regular season. Aurora won that one 20-1. But what needs to happen for the Falcons to pull off the upset, if you will, in that semifinal? In your opinion, what needs to happen?
I think we need to come out when we first played CUC. We played Augustana the next day. We had 2 games in a row, and we really, really came together when we played Augustana. So I feel like we really just need to come out there and play like we have been playing. I think we know what to expect this time. We had some breakdowns, but I think those breakdowns can be helpful because they were little mistakes that we can kind of capitalize on this time. So I think it'll be nice since we've already had a game with them under our belt. So I feel like we kind of know what to expect. So I feel like that'll be really beneficial. And I think we just really need to be strong offensively. Defensively, when we first played CUC, I think we actually did do a pretty good job. It's just that we had those little details that we just need to make sure we're doing this time.
Well, Kinsey, all the best. Continued success, and we're cheering for you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time. And the Falcons and Concordia, Chicago, again, NAC tournament semifinal on Wednesday. We thank Kinsey Wire. We thank Ellie Johnson. We thank Sam Dunn behind the scenes. Thank you for watching. Matt Menzel saying so long. We'll do it again next week. It's Falcon Focus on CWFalcons.com.